Japan is made of strings of islands on the eastern edge of Asia. There are four main islands: Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku, and Kyushu. There are also nearly 4,000 smaller islands. Japan's nearest mainland neighbors are Siberian region of Russia, the North and South Korean, and China farther south. Japan is predominantly mountainous. About three-fourths of the nation land is mountainous. Japan also surrounded by water from every side and has no physical connection with neighboring countries. Climate of Japan can be very hot and also can be very cold. Northern Japan has warm summers and very cold winters with heavy snow, and western Japan has very hot and humid summers and moderate cold winters. Wildlife of Japan can be separated into two regions, which is the northern and western regions of Japan. Some of those animals that live in those regions are snow monkeys that live in northern regions of Japan where it's colder. Also, manta rays and hammer sharks could be found in the water, and the famous Japanese giant salamanders could be found living on the ground. Today, Japanese culture stands as one of the most influential cultures around the world. The example of Japanese culture would be food, with its thousand dishes, distinct ingredients, and ways of preparation. Kimono, which consists of multiple layers of silk and is traditional Japanese clothing. Architecture, where traditional architecture is built mainly with wood and without support of a single nail. Women in Japan follow something called three submissions, where the other submits to her father, wife submits to her husband, and the elderly woman or mother submits to her sons and grandsons. The example of popular culture in Japan would be manga, which is the sort of art which is similar to comic books. This sort of art is popular not only in youth, but around elderly people and middle-aged people. The another form of popular culture in Japan is anime, which is an animated movie that created a lot of times from mangas and popular around youth and elderly people too. The other form of popular culture in Japan is sushi and video games. Official language of Japan is Japanese. Japan is a multilingual country, and linguistic diversity is a part of the Japanese-speaking population. Minority languages in Japan are Nivka and Orok. Also, there is Korean and Chinese-speaking citizens. Uh, Nivka and Orok are languages that very similar to Russian in the way that sentences look like, and also their alphabet is very similar to Russian alphabet with some characters that are not included in Russian alphabet. Proto-Japonic, the common ancestor of Japanese language, is thought to have been brought to Japan by settlers coming from Korean Peninsula sometimes in early to mid 4th century, replacing languages of original Jomon inhabitants. Japanese is spoken by roughly 126 million people in around 18 territories, which is actually mean that 99% of Japanese population, speaking population, lives in Japan, and 1% is distributed between United States and Brazil. Uh, Japan and Korean have their own branches, so Japan is not a part of language family, branch, or group. There are 47 different dialects in Japan language, um, and dialects of Japanese language fall into two primary groups. Those two groups are Eastern and Western with dialects of Kyushu and Hachiajo Islands. Dominant religions in Japan are Shinto and Buddhism. Shinto is polytheistic and revolves around the kami, supernatural entities believed to inhabit all of the things. So Shinto they believe in gods of the things around them, like a god of wind, water, fire, woods, and other things. Buddhism is neither monotheistic nor polytheistic. There is no personal god or monotheistic creator god in Buddhism. as there is in Christianity, Judaism, or Islam. Uh, Buddhism was imported to Japan via China and Korea in the form of present from the friendly Korean kingdom of Kodara in the 6th century, and Shinto actually believed to be originated in Japan also in 6th century. Buddhism is the fourth largest religion after Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And Shinto was originated in Japan, and it mainly practiced in Japan. There is no major prophet or some holy books in Shinto, but some of the books they do read and for Shinto for the religion are Kajiki, which translates to records of ancient matters, um, Nihonji, that translates as Chronicles of Japan. These books are compilations of ancient myths and traditional uh, teaching that had previously been passed down orally. Shinto is optimistic faith as humans are thought to be fundamentally good and evil is believed to be caused by evil spirit. Um, but in Buddhism, they believe in four things, which is existence in suffering. Suffering has a cause, and namely a craving and an attachment. There is an cessation of suffering, which is also called nirvana, and there is a path to cessation of suffering. Um, the holy books they have in Buddhism is mainly one that called Tripitaka is the main holy book in the Buddhism. The prophet they have is the name, actual name is the the actual name of the prophet. They have Siddhartha Gautama, which was later named Buddha, and that where the Buddhism name comes from. He actually was living in Nepal in the 5th century. Um, Custom in Buddhism, the widely observed practices include meditation, observance of moral perceptions, and they're very monotheistic. Um, while Shinto is not really a missionary religion, Buddhism is highly missionary religion, and they do believe in spreading their religion around the world. Some of the holy places for the Buddhism are Lumbini, Badekh, Gaya, Sarnath, and Kushinagar, which you can see examples on the screen. The main holy place for Shinto is the Sirahid Shinto Shrine, which does not have a main location. It's actually spread all over Japan, and a lot of time they put it close to the water. Um, there is not many religious conflicts between religions in Japan, since the main religions are Shinto and Buddhism, and they both pretty peaceful religion. There was only one where the Shinto religion was harnessed for political and ideological purposes in 19th century. During that time period, national development, life was made very difficult for other religions beside Buddhism, but after that, there was no historical evidence that there was much conflict between these two religions or others. The ethnicity of people living in Japan is mainly Japanese, where 98.1 are Japanese, 0.5 Chinese, 0.4 Korean, and 1 others. Japanese people tend to think of themselves as being a single ethnicity. The country is amazingly homogeneous compared with many other developed nations. It is one of the least ethnically diverse countries on the earth, with minority groups being Burakumin, Chinese, and Korean. Thankfully, Japan is one of the countries that does not have much racial and ethnical tension between people. Also, there is not a lot of evidence of segregation, while 31% people in Japan said they should actively accept foreign people. 50% 50% do not support it but found it peace with it. The 90% do not care too much about it. The Japanese government support the unity of Japanese and ethnic groups. Even so, racism against Korean, Chinese, and other minority groups is deeply rooted into Japan because of its history and culture.